Okay guys, welcome back. I just got back from seeing The Raven, starring John Cusack as Edgar Allan Poe. And I have to admit that when I first saw the trailers for this movie, I didn't think it was going to be all that great. I expected it to be one of those long, drawn-out movies and just not really deliver. And then I was reading some of these reviews. I didn't really read any reviews. I just saw that Rotten Tomatoes had like 37 reviews. Only 7 were positive from what I heard. So I went into this movie and I was kind of like, you never know what you're going to get. But I definitely didn't expect it to be any good, really. And after seeing it, I thought it was okay. I don't think it really deserved such harsh criticism. I thought it was a decent movie, and it was kind of average. It was okay. It didn't really need to be rated R except for a few key scenes. There wasn't really that much gore. Only a couple scenes I can think of that had some actual gore in them. The rest of the time, it didn't really need to be rated PG-13 or rated R. I'm sorry. I'm also not the biggest John Cusack fan, so that also kind of threw me off. However, I would have to say that this movie isn't as bad as some people make it out to be, and it is worth watching. However, I would definitely wait for the DVD release. I don't think there's any need to rush out and see The Raven in theaters. It's not that great of a movie. So that's really my thoughts on the movie as a whole. I thought the acting was pretty good. John Cusack did an okay job. The guy who played the detective, Fields, he was awesome. And the killer was awesome. But it's a movie about... The first thing they show, okay, is Edgar Allan Poe died on a park bench. He was found near death, and the timeline of his last days, nobody really knows what he was doing. So this movie is kind of about a copycat killer who is killing people in ways that they died in Edgar Allan Poe's stories. So he has to help the police find this killer. That's the premise of the movie. That's not a spoiler. And I thought they did an okay job with that, but it kind of was long and drawn out in some parts. It didn't really need to be. And overall, like I said, DVD, you're probably better off going with that. So with all that being said, there will be spoilers here. Big spoilers. So if you want to go see the movie, don't listen from this point forward. So the movie starts off and it shows Edgar Allan Poe, like I said, what he was up to his last days. No one knows. It's a mystery. And it shows him on the park bench. And then it shows him... the start of the movie, he's walking down the streets, he's drinking. The police find these 2 bodies, a woman and a girl, and they're killed. And the detective puts it together and he realizes that it's Edgar Allan Poe. He's heard this before, he's seen this crime scene, and he finally remembers it was from a Poe story. So they bring Poe in, and thank God they didn't spend the entire movie with him as a suspect. They immediately get that out of the way, and he starts working with the police. They become friends, him and the detective. So that part was good, because I was afraid they would spend the entire movie, like every time someone dies, they're going to go back to Poe, and he's got to prove he's innocent. But that didn't happen here, so that was definitely good. He's in love with this girl, Emily, I can't remember her last name. But he's in love with her. And the criminal, the killer, is stalking Poe, and his next victim is supposed to be... Well, the next victim is from The Pit and the Pendulum. He dies by the swinging blade, and that part was pretty gory. And then the third death is supposed to be at a party. That the girl he's in love with, her father is throwing this party, so the killer sends in a distraction and actually kidnaps the girl. So she's held hostage somewhere. We don't really see where it is. While Poe is trying to solve the crime with the police, give them some help, and get to her before it's too late. And they don't think he's going to kill her because he wants to string Poe along, kind of. So they're trying to find her. Meanwhile, other people end up getting killed. And it was a pretty interesting story. It did have a good mystery to it. You just didn't care as much as you should, I guess, in finding out who it was. There was a few moments where you're like, oh, I think it could be that guy. I bet it's this guy. But then when you find out who it is kind of disappointing, in my opinion. Poe decides that he would rather give his life to save the girl. So he's working for this printing press, and they make Poe look to be like this broke alcoholic, and I'm not saying they're going too far against the truth here, but it is kind of just weird to see this in the movie. He's like got no money, so he goes to the printing press, and meanwhile, while they're looking for the criminal, he's writing stories about it for the newspaper, which was kind of odd. In the last story, he says, I guess because he wants to give this idea to the criminal, how about you kill me and release the girl? Well, he hands the paper over to his typesetter, and then the next day he gets a clue, and he realizes that the clue is wet from the rain, but the paper is dry, which means that the criminal read the story before it was actually published. So he goes to the printing press, he sees the editor dead, his hands have been cut off, and it was his typesetter. The entire time, the guy was a big fan of Poe's, and he was just stalking him, and he agrees to the terms. He'll tell him where the girl is if Poe will drink this bottle of poison. Poe does it, and he's kind of groggy, and he's fading away, and as the criminal leaves, he quotes some stuff from the Telltale Heart, and Poe realizes the girl is under him. So he breaks down, he finds the cellar, he finds the girl, he saves her life. Meanwhile, the detectives and everybody, and the girl, she's in an ambulance, but everyone's looking for Poe. And then as it fades back, we see he's in the park. He's almost dead. And he tells some passerbys, and they send him to the hospital, and he's telling everybody to tell Fields that the man's last name is Reynolds. No one knows what this means. They think he's just gibberish. However, Fields, the main detective, he realizes what Poe was saying, and the killer, the typesetter, had actually gone to France to see Jules Verne, another writer he wants to stalk next, I guess. And Fields, the last thing we see in the movie is he arrives in France, the killer, he opens the door, and the detective Fields is there and shoots him. And then the credits roll. So that was it. That was the entire movie. Like I said, it's much, much longer and drawn out. It was almost 2 hours, I think, like 5 minutes shy of 2 hours. So it was a pretty long movie, and some of it was a little unnecessary. However, I thought it was okay. They did a decent job with this. It was much better than I expected it to be. I can't really say that if you're a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan, you should see this movie, because I do enjoy his stories. I've read them all. It was years ago, but I have read them all, and I would consider myself a fan, but this movie really has nothing to do with Edgar Allan Poe or his stories. It's a made-up movie with some mystery to it, so don't go into it expecting that. But overall, I think it's decent. However, definitely wait for the DVD release, because there's really no reason to see this in theaters and sit there for 2 hours. And that's it. That's my review of The Raven with Edgar Allan Poe, or John Cusack, I'm sorry. So that's it. I hope you guys like this video. Everybody who has seen the movie, leave your thoughts on it in the comments below. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Bye.